Hey und willkommen beim Indie Film Talk Podcast. Der Podcast, wo es um die täglichen Freuden und den immerwährenden Kampf eines Filmschaffenden geht. Viel Spaß! Schön, dass ihr wieder eingeschaltet habt bei dieser weiteren Spezialfolge des Indie Film Talk Podcasts. Durch die hohe Resonanz und das Interesse an den letzten Panels und Podiumsdiskussionen haben wir heute wieder einen spannenden Talk direkt aus dem Kino der DFFB für euch. In Kooperation mit der DFFB, Skylines und Filmnetzwerk Berlin spricht Head of Program bei Skylines und Moderator Ben Harris mit dem Showrunner Dennis Schanz über seine erste eigene Serie Skylines, die ihren Weg zum Online-Streaming-Giganten Netflix gefunden hat. Die Serie wird in dem Talk nicht gespoilert, also keine Angst. Also ihr könnt ganz in Ruhe den Talk hören und danach die Serie schauen oder auch andersrum. Das ist euch vollkommen frei gelassen, wie ihr da am besten rangehen wollt. Als letzte Info kann ich nur noch sagen, dass das Gespräch in Englisch ist, also nicht erschrecken. Und ich würde sagen, genug geredet. Und dann kann ich auch nur noch sagen, Mr. Harris, übernehmen Sie.
So, welcome to DFFB session, Creating Skylines with Dennis Schanz. I realize the title of the event sounds a little like a do-it-yourself workshop on the Home Improvement Network, but maybe that's not such a bad thing. We're talking with Dennis, creator and showrunner of the brand new Netflix show Skylines, about creating his first TV show. Consider this a step-by-step guide on how to make your own TV show and sell it fast online. This event is a joint production of DFFB, Filmnetzwerk Berlin, Skylines, and the Detect Project. Please note that tonight's event will be podcast recorded in cooperation with indiefilmtalk.de. So if you have any questions about after our conversation, please wait for the microphone to ask your question. Please note that we're going to be in English. Also, please note that, are we taking pictures? I'm not even sure, but if we are, we are. We assume that you're fine with it. If you're not, just duck out of sight. Dennis Schanz, born and raised in Berlin. Dennis studied film and American studies in Berlin, Zurich, Mainz, and Kansas. He co-founded the Berlin-based production company Stick Up Films. He produced the movie Fado by DFFB graduate Jonas Rothländer. As a writer and director, he has made 3 short films and now Skylines. Welcome.
Thanks. Thanks for having me.
So, the reason we are especially excited is that you developed this project at Skylines. We have a few of our Skylines folks here. They all want to know, how do you make a hit TV show? So I'm going to delve right in. So you came to Skylines with the initial idea, right?
Yes.
What was the initial idea you came with?
So it was my second application. The first one I got, I wasn't accepted.
Wasn't me.
So with the second application, it worked, and I'm glad it did. And the project was called Snitch back then, and was really based in Berlin, and was based in Berlin-Neukölln, which is a part of the city which I know very well because I grew up in Berlin. And I developed it, started to develop it, and then there was this one. Of course, the message got around that there was another show that was, being produced in Berlin-Neukölln, and so with a very kind of similar setup like my show. And then I had the choice, I had to decide what to do with it, what to do with the subject now, with the story.
Was there music involved at that point? Did you have the music industry?
Yes. Yeah,
okay.
The music industry was always, but at that time, there was nothing like that on TV, on German TV, to me it was clear, okay, there will not be 2 shows like that in German TV anywhere. So I decided to make a quick decision and do something either very radical, which is take the story and really botch it and do something entirely different, or to take what's interesting, what fascinates me with it, and maybe go to another place, go somewhere where I'm not so much involved personally, and where where I can have a fresh perspective on not only the setting but also the story I want to tell.
So the setting was then Frankfurt at that point?
The setting was very quickly Frankfurt, but as soon as I decided that it would be Frankfurt, the whole story shifted completely. So it was, of course.
In what way? What shifted around?
I think the whole the core theme of the show, which for me is the intersection between the personal and the business side of human relations. So what happens when the personal intersects with the commercial or with business impulses, and I think this whole business perspective and business focus that came with the city, with Frankfurt, and that was not in my view at all when I started with the show. And to me, it's more about this core theme than it is about and also the theme and the setting, and less about, for example, music or organized crime or whatever. So this is just like a one of the vehicles to tell this basic story and these basic or explore these basic themes.
Mm-hmm. And but I mean, the arena is very prominent here. And how did you go about, while you were still in the program, how did you go about exploring the arena? Did you go to Frankfurt? Did you make contact with anybody at that point, or was that later?
I mean, I studied so it was not completely new to the city, because I studied in Mainz, which is very close to Frankfurt, and I knew the city pretty well. Also, I'm an avid rap listener, rap fan, you can say. So Frankfurt rap, besides Berlin rap, was always my favorite German rap or German kind of rap. So I always had a kind of a connection to the city, but so of course I knew that the story needed me to, or I needed to go into more specific areas of Frankfurt, talk to specific people in Frankfurt, and it was just, to be honest, I think the first research trip I did was, I think, after ZDF was interested in developing the script. So I developed the first stage of the script and the concept without having freshly been to Frankfurt, but just from my memory and and the story itself. But then once we got the development money, basically by ZDF, we started to go to Frankfurt. Me and the group of writers, we were 4 by then, and we met with some rappers, like a label boss of a rapper, but also with 2 hooligans who just took us with them through the Frankfurt red light district. And
how do you do that? Do you just pick up the phone and say, "Yo, I want to come over. Do you have some time?" Do you meet them? Do you try to meet them in a bar like Jin does? How do you approach a rapper or a boss?
I mean, a rapper,
label.
To be honest, it was just a hookup on LinkedIn, basically.
Oh, right.
So there's this one producer, Bazazian,
business network,
who does this, who produced this song that you just heard, this 069 thing of Haftbefehl. And I knew, so he's the sound of Frankfurt rap. So I knew this should be the producer guy.
So you went straight to the top.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to really. So I just approached the best producer in my eyes, and he was interested.
How do you pitch it to him? What did you say? I'm making a show about rap music or rap industry.
Yeah, in Frankfurt, and just a short pitch. Also, also I think it was important to drop that a TV show is already a TV station is already interested, so that there's money involved. I think that's also very important. But other than that, I think the most important thing was for him to understand and to see that I mean it, and that I'm serious about it, and that I'm serious about the culture, the rap culture, and that was kind of our first meeting was really mostly about that. So am I bullshitting, or do I have some knowledge about that?
Did you have to you had to show that you knew the music?
Not directly, but you can feel when you talk to
and you were serious about the music.
Yeah, definitely from the beginning.
So this is not something you could have done if you had not really been immersed in the music growing up. It's kind of probably not seriously.
Yeah, I mean it probably helped, but of course I can't say that it can't be done without the knowledge or the passion. No, but it certainly helped. Yeah, I think especially with hip hop, there's so many pitfalls. So many traps where you can fall in, and where you can do something wrong, and to know that and to be aware of that is I think is really important. It's the most important thing, because there are so many, or not many, but there are other films, series which tackled hip hop, and which had some issues and some problems, and also some where the feedback was kind of iffy, and but as a hip hop fan, basically, you are aware of all this, and you don't want to repeat that. You don't want to do the same mistakes.
So that's part of your pitch, is also pitching yourself as the artist that will represent the show, represent the culture in a way that is not denigrating, is respectful, I guess.
Yeah, I guess, yes. I mean, in the beginning, when it was still set in Berlin, Neukölln, of course, there was the argument that I am from Berlin, Neukölln, and Tempelhof, so was raised there, and I think people, and I had some things with my family and friends and blah. So the whole story was very personal already, and I think people like that when you pitch something and it's personal, but at the same time it's not too personal so that it becomes autobiographic, but that they see that the world that you're talking about, but have a broad view on the world, so that it's still interesting, it's still fascinating to more people than just to me, my friends, and my family, basically.
And once you had the arena set and you had your theme, how did the theme become motivating for your story? How did the story come out of that theme that you wanted to tell?
It's
I'm kind of looking for the idea of the story engine that we're still grappling
but
with.
it was completely the idea for the engine. Then I mean, Nicola, who's here too, he's always preaching the importance of the theme, but not only as that you have something that is relevant, but that you have something where you can work with. So like a workable premise. This is an interesting take on theme, which I think. And I don't know if I pitched it clearly enough now in English, because I didn't do it for a while. But this. So what happens when the personal and business relations intersect? This came to me, after I decided on Frankfurt as the setting. This came to me, and I completely rebuilt the story based on this new theme. And really, it went so far as to look at every scene that we develop and that we developed in the writers' room, and talked through, and then reminded ourselves, hey, is that reflecting the theme in any way? Is that exploring the theme in any way, or is that not? Because if it's not, then there's a high chance that it's kind of redundant. It's kind of not doing anything with the story, So that's why I'm always stressing that the show is about more than just rap music. It's about more than just gangster, It's because it's about something. To me, it's about something different, and these are just the little arenas, little parts of the arena where where this theme is explored.
If you had to categorize it as a genre, what kind of genre would you say Skylines was belonging to?
I always said ensemble drama show. So it's, to me, it's pure drama. And but when we sold it to or when ZDF took it into development, they were expecting a crime show.
Right.
So they tried to push us to push the crime angle a little bit more, and I think we did that a little bit. You know, because I still don't remember why or how it was before, but we did it, as I said, only a little bit but we did not once the ZDF went out of the agreement again and we went to Netflix. I knew that I didn't worry about the crime aspect too much, so it was still part of the show, but it fit and it did the theme justice in my eyes, at least. So yeah.
Yeah.
But sorry, but you know, with ZDF, the ensemble drama, how I always pitched it, became what was it? A crime drama, I guess.
Drama.
So but I was not very happy with the term or with the genre. So for me, it's really drama.
So that was actually one of my questions. At what point did the crime enter the picture? At what point the drug dealing and the police investigation? When was that part of the concept? Was that woven into the concept from the start, or was that something that was kind of injected later on?
It was there from the start. From the very beginning, the dynamic between Jin and Sarah, so Jin, the producer, and Sarah, the policewoman, was central to the show. And
Snitch, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know, I don't want to spoil anything, but so what happened with the story is that we took our time to then finally get there. So we tried to see what's in there and how these characters get to this dynamic, basically.
Interesting, yeah. That's very interesting.
And also, sorry, but the organized crime aspect, of course, was always there. You know, the drug thing was always there. But
it always was.
It always was, yeah. And then, of course, the police angle too. But I think that the police, I cannot remember. To be
That's
honest.
all right. But I'm kind of curious because you have a lot of characters that you have Albanians, Bosnian, I believe, Turkish, Kurds. How do you design these kind of characters coming into this process? I mean, how do you craft characters that are not necessarily, I want to say, part of your general your familiar environment?
But there was that.
But they were, okay.
Yeah, they were. I mean, growing up in West Berlin, in Neukölln, in Tempelhof, you know, and in the areas, to me, I always so my surroundings, my environment was always very multicultural, multi-ethnic, and yeah. So to me, it did not feel foreign or exotic in a way. So okay, let's look into this part of the city or part of our society, but it felt kind of normal, and I wanted to. It was very important to me to also regard it as normal and not make a thing out of it. You know, not make a huge thing out of someone being a Kurd or someone being Turkish, or not having their quarrels because one is Turkish and the other one is Kurdish Turkish. You know, so I wanted to have the conflicts of the characters be very personal conflicts, and so you know, if it happened to have anything to do with ethnicity, then okay. But to me, it was always, again, you know, catering to the theme. It's always the personal and the business aspect. And when I started out with the story, the theme for me was more about identity. You know, when it was still set in Berlin and everything. So I think back then it would have been more of a topic, basically, of something that I would have tackled. But here in Frankfurt is also very multicultural, multi-ethnic city, and I wanted to, as I said, just let it portray it as normal as it can. So that is my also my ideal or idealistic impetus in a way.
Going back to the idea of the crime show, I mean, when you were designing this for ZDF, or at the time, what was the kind of question? How do you go about making a crime show for a German audience that has probably seen every crime show under the sun at this point? Were there things that you could assume people would know, and were there things that you thought, I need to do this very differently than what has been done before?
Even when they said a crime show, I knew that the crime aspect is just one of the aspects. So, and also here, you know, when people say, there's of course there's this tough girl cop or tough woman cop and cliche character, To me, it's not about her investigation. To me, it's about her again personal struggles and how they interrelate with her business, with her work. And so by sticking to the theme, by exploring the theme, I think I hope we managed to be specific about her problems, about her conflict. So I didn't care about there are so many crime shows and what can I do differently, because I didn't want to do a crime show. So not from the beginning, even though I called it that, but it didn't interest me. And then I knew that her conflicts are specific, and that's why I didn't give a shit about, I don't know, Tatort or Polizeiruf 110 and how many other crime shows. It didn't interest me.
You mentioned working in a writer's room. How did that dynamic work? How did you manage working with the other writers, and what are the things you learned working in the writer's room, and what are the things you wish you had learned going into it beforehand?
I think I learned a lot through Serialize. It was a really good experience in that regard, because for especially guys like Frank Spotnitz, so very seasoned showrunners, they told us that in a writer's room it's so important to hear each other out and to work on the same vision, but at the same time that there had to be some kind of hierarchy, or there had to be some guy who does the decisions basically, and who directs the writers' room and the ideas flowing in the writers' room. And I think this mix of openness but also assertiveness, this is very important, I think. But at the same time, one of a very important thing is that you leave your ego in a way at home. So that it's not like that you have to say yes to everything, but as soon as it becomes, I don't know, personal or too much about your own tastes and not about the vision that we are striving for and working on or working with, then it becomes kind of toxic. But I have to say we had a great writers' room, and so it was cool.
When looking for the writers and putting together your writers' room, were there specific skills that you were looking for in each person, or was it more about the general feeling and the vibe of the room itself, or both?
I took only people from. So one guy was my what's it called? My partner at my
production company.
Yeah, right, Ole Lohmann, and the other, how many were? Two were alumni from Serialize. So people who I knew,
you had worked with before,
right? Who I knew they can write, and so for example, Olli is he used to be a rapper himself in Hamburg back then, so that was of course helpful. But he's also a very good, talented writer. Kim Zimmermann is a very has a nice great creativity and also a different perspective. This it's also that it's great to have if you're male what is it?
Male-dominated.
Male-dominated in a writer's room to at least have. I wish it would have been more, or like equal, but so it happened that it was one woman. But it's funny how you have ideas and you think, yeah, that's the right idea, and then the one woman in the room says, wait a minute, is that really like that? And and at first you think, yes, of course, but then you start to rethink that and see that it's of course the other way is better, might be better. So for example, the Zealand character, for those who have seen more than one episode, so was Kim's idea to make her a female character, because we started with a male character, and I think so we have a female character rapping and then going through the motions with Jin, with the producer. So her idea was at first off-putting to me, but then it was I could see the value with it. Yeah. So it's like interesting to have these different perspectives on storytelling, and of course different worldviews, and really work with them and do something creative with them.
You're not afraid to be challenged on some of your points as well. So you mentioned you had worked with ZDF. At what point did you actually approach the broadcaster with your idea? When was it ready for prime time, so to speak, to go to a broadcaster and pitch it?
I mean, was the final pitch at Skylines, where after the pitch, Claudia Tronier approached me. She's the commissioning editor from the ZDF Kleine Fernsehspiel. And she asked me, because during the pitch I said, okay, this is a series for all the streamers like Netflix and Amazon and that. And she said, can you imagine doing the show for ZDF? And I told her, no, but I'm open to listen to your ideas. And then she said that they have a new program, and it sounded very interesting.
What was the program, or what was the idea? What was the pitch from her to you?
It was that the Kleine Fernsehspiel was developing series projects for ZDF Neo, and they had a like a smaller budget, but Luis and me from my production company partner, we were very clear about from the beginning that this budget is not enough. So this would not be the only partner. So we were sure from the beginning that we would have needed another TV or a streaming partner to get to the budget where we wanted to be, because that was if you want to do an ensemble show with all these characters, all these actors and everything, it becomes expensive very quickly. And
that was based on your experience as a producer yourself, so you had some idea on what you needed and how to budget for it.
Yeah, right. But I think it was very, to me at least, it was very important to not budge to the budget, to say, okay, I can tell the story in a smaller way and with focus on just Jin's storyline or whatever, and I can do it for this amount of money. But I said from the beginning that no, I want to tell this story and with the whole scope, because it's an ensemble drama, and to just try to then stick to that vision.
And then you had to go out and find the extra money.
Yes, which we did initially with Netflix. So
you went after ZDF. You went to Netflix essentially as a second co-financing partner.
Right. Yeah, okay. We had two scripts ready. We had the storyline for the season ready for the first season, and then we kind of went to Netflix for hooking up with ZDF, which was kind of an adventure. So it was not that easy, because of course they're also. I don't want to get too much into that, but it's it was kind of interesting. But
we were also meaty stuff we want to hear, but I get it. Okay.
Right. We were also planning on getting funding or state funding, and so it would have been like financing a movie in a way, to have all these different things having to come together in order to have the final and the full budget.
That's already a pretty innovative way of financing a German TV show. I mean, coming with different co-production partners for a young production company like yourself. Usually that would be something you do in a big international co-production where you go and seek out extra funding. But sounds like you were already thinking in new terms for German television there to a certain extent.
I mean, people were always telling me that this is, the budget that we wanted to have is too much, and we will not get it for such a show. And I don't know. We just strive for that. But I mean, it could have broken our neck easily because at some point I think it became too big and too complicated for ZDF, and so that that they started to stop the process and to really cancel the show just before the green light. So we thought we had everything, and then it got so big that they said, it's getting out of hand, basically.
Really? Okay.
It's not. So I think it had, I cannot say it for sure, but I think it had something to do with their, their approach and how they want to create what is called like a brand, and we were not really fitting into that because it was Neo, but it was with a budget higher than what they wanted to do. So of course sticking to, hey, this is a big show and we need money was of course very risky, and we could have also said, okay, we tell only this part of the story and then we manage it for this and this amount of money. This would have been easier. So it was much more risky, but in the end it turned out.
You stuck to your guns. You didn't compromise on the vision you had for the show.
Right.
And then essentially ZDF dropped out, but you went into...
That was the word I was looking for, dropped out.
And you went to Netflix with the idea, I mean, which was already there at Netflix.
We were already there, but it was like a different part of Netflix, so it was a different person to talk to, but of course we were already in... They already knew about our project, but then of course there was this other show, so there was always,
there's always another show,
right? So there was the Dogs of Berlin, which they hadn't released yet by then, and so it was for them, of course, it was strange to greenlight a show which is also again, a little bit of crime, a little bit of hip hop, these urban themes basically, and of course, this was also not easy, but it worked in the end.
But they were willing to give you the whole budget that you needed for this?
Kind of, yes.
Enough. Okay. But was it easier in coming to the notion of showrunner? Because you have clearly positioned yourself as a showrunner in the project, already leading it through ZDF to a certain extent, and we can obviously use the word because you've used it yourself and it's in the credits. Yeah. Was it easier for you to negotiate with Netflix being a showrunner at this point because it's an American company and they know the concept than before, or was that never ever a discussion for anybody that you were the showrunner?
I mean, with ZDF, for example, I felt like I had to push this,
to push for
the title a little bit. So
for the role as well.
Right, for the role. Yeah, the role. I don't know. It was so they understood that I was the creator. I had the vision, and that I was leading the writers' room, and that I wanted to be part of the production. I'm a co-producer, But with Netflix or with ZDF, then still the term showrunner was not that often used by people we talked to. So it was more like I had to really kind of
you had to insert it into the discussion.
Yes, in a way. And with Netflix, it's more like, okay, who's the showrunner, basically.
So they asked the question.
Yeah, I mean, not really, but it's this kind of mindset. And the interesting thing with Netflix is that they did not really care too much whether I had experience as a showrunner with serious writing, with serious producing, whatever. Like you said, I did 3 short films before, of course, as a producer, 2 feature films. But they didn't care too much. They just wanted to, to know whether you have a vision that transpires. No?
You can execute on. You can
right.
That translates to the screen.
Translates right, and then that you that you're passionate about it, that you know what you're doing, basically. That and that's, I think that's good. So Netflix was not really looking too much on what's this guy's filmography, but it's more of a dialogue. So they want to get to know you, and then if they're convinced that you can pull it off, then they trust you. At least in our case, it was like that, and it was really like that.
But then you brought in another co-production partner, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how did they work with that title and that role and that understanding? How was that easy for them to accept?
Yeah. I mean, there was one of the things that still came together after we approached not only ZDF and had a development deal, but also after we approached Netflix. Mm-hmm. It was time for us to hook up with a more established and like bigger production company who could. It's also very much about. It's not only about what's it called, the skills and experience and knowledge of producing, but it's also about like pragmatic things like financing. Who could raise or what's it called, Zwischenfinanzierung, like.
Gap financing.
Gap financing, right? And it's not easy for any film production company to do that. So we needed a partner. It was clear, but during our search for the right partner, it was there was also something that was really important for me and for us, that we had someone who understands also my vision, understands my role, and so, of course it took some discussions, some getting to know each other, but again, it was clear from the beginning for me, I want to be the showrunner, and that's something that our partner had to deal with, and they did not only deal with it, they embraced it. So because again, it's always about your vision and how you communicate that vision.
Mm. Well, what did you do as a showrunner? I mean, what is the showrunner in this instance? What did you do?
I think it's this. So it's to translate what happened from the very beginning, from your initial vision, throughout the writer's room and being a head writer, to the pre-production process, to the filming of the show, until the post-production, and to be kind of, at least that's my interpretation of it, to be kind of a supervisor and on many things. So it's like what in a film with a director, especially a director who wrote the script himself or herself, what is all the director and centered on one person. I think here on in series, it's like more of a working together,
a collaboration.
Collaboration, right? So here it's that of course the directors had their visions and their own visions, their visual ideas and how to stage a scene, how to work with the actors and all that, but it's all based on my discussions with the directors, also my discussions with the head of departments, my discussions with the actors. So it's more like a collaborative, joint what's it called, responsibility for or creative responsibility in a way. So basically, I wanted to be involved in all decisions, except for when the director was working directly on set with the actors. Of course, I did not come from behind and say, hey, you need to do it like this. But it's more like in between, getting into, communicating, maybe, asking do we do this right? Is that, or should we go into this direction? And But it's also always, to me, interesting to look how what's it called, so that people are creative in their own right, but always connected to the vision. Because if you lose that connection, then this can get to some big disjointed mumbo jumbo, whatever. Then you have like not one series but 2 or 3 films basically. And this happens with bad series, I guess. And so I understand my role as someone who holds things together. And the other thing as a showrunner was that because of the music angle and that the music was so important to me, I knew that I don't want to. So this is something that I needed to do myself. I needed to work with the producer directly. I needed to work with the songwriters directly, and create all the music very much by myself with the artists, with the creatives, and this is like the role, as I said, how I understand it, working with the creatives to get the most out of them, maybe push them to getting even more, maybe push them to a little bit different of a direction. So one example is when we were looking for motives, for motifs, for settings, for all the characters. For example, locations. Where does Sarah live, for example, right? The policewoman. The set designer, he had a great a flat which was in the 10th
floor.
10th floor of like a Sozialbau, like a building in the projects, but it was kind of new, so it was not that shabby, but it's still still in the projects. And I said, this is not, even though it looked great, and you have this, through the windows you could see the skyline and everything, and of course the director, the camera guy, the set designer, they all said, hey, this is great. It is great, but it's not fitting it's not the character. And to find these decisions. But still, there were several other cases where, of course, the camera, the DOP was right, or the director was right, but to always think about these things in terms of the long run, in terms of the series, in terms of not even only the first season, but also, for possible other seasons. And of course, no one has, or I know about these things best because the whole stuff is in my head. So, yeah.
You had it all planned out in your head already.
Or at least knowing or sensing where it can lead to, can go to, and yeah.
And this goes back to theme as well. Being
right. Exactly. This is.
Let's take a couple of questions from you guys.
Hello.
Hi.
I wanted to know more about the timeline. Like, how much time did it pass from the first concept, then the script, then the fundings, and the final agreement, the green light, and so on, production, and till the end?
The first. So the first idea was really just for the Serial Eyes application in, I think, February 2015. So I wrote the first abstract of the show, beginning 2015. Then I studied. I don't know when does Serial Eyes start?
In September through May.
September, right? And then during the Berlinale,
February 2016 then? Or?
2016, the message came that there's this other show, so I needed to make a decision. And then I switched everything, and then in May, during the final pitch, when ZDF approached me, I guess after that I wrote the pilot, or finished writing the pilot, and I guess in June, July or something, we got the development Auftrag. What's it?
Commission. You got the commission.
Yeah, right. So I got the commission for the development for the first 2 episodes and the season outline. And then I don't know. It went like back and forth and did some. So it was a kind of wild ride. But the final green light from Netflix as a Netflix original. Oh wait, ZDF pulling out was in, I guess, June 2018. So, and we were like, was it? I don't know. So, but only a few weeks later, we then had the green light from Netflix for the Netflix original. So it was like June or July 2018, and we were done by when we were done. In August this year.
So barely a year. Wow.
Right. So as soon as the green light came, and that's the case with all the, I don't know if all the streamers, but especially Netflix. Once they give you the green light, they expect you to be fast, and then you have to, I don't know.
So you had 2 scripts going in, and then you had to develop the last 4 scripts.
Once we got the green light, we had 5.5 scripts ready.
Okay.
But the 6th one was not ready, and this is also just a tricky thing about being a showrunner, because you want to be involved in everything, in all the aspects, in casting, in all the location scouting, in pre-production, in who's your team and who are the team members. And, they said, okay, you have to shoot in, what was it? It was June, so in 4 or 5 months you have to shoot. So you have to start and hurry for the pre-production. But at the same time, episode 6 was not even finished, and there were also still some weaknesses for me, dramaturgical weaknesses for the other episodes. So I knew I still had to write, but had to do all the other stuff at the same time. And it's funny because of course you work with great people, you work with great head-offs, and you trust them. And at the same time, you wanna know, okay, in which direction does it go? But when you're not done with the scripts, then you have to always have to make a decision whether you're very much involved in the pre-production and even the shooting then and the production, or whether you're just focusing on writing. So it was not an ideal thing for me, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going through this process of several years of writing the same story, and I assume that you're getting notes from like classmates and people like that. I recognize some names in the title. When you're reaching that like halfway through episode 6 and all the writers have been there for a while, like who are you going to like make sure that, you said you had dramaturgical issues, like who are you going to go like, how do I fix this, or like what's not working? Is that the executives? Obviously there's other writers, but who's your team for that? Like,
to be honest, I didn't have much time to go to so many people, because it was really like, okay, this decision, all writing, this decision. So it's not you. Once I go like this, hey Ben, what do you think of this and this idea? The time is flying, time is passing. You don't have time. So I was just in a hurry, just in stress all the time. And the only persons really that I was communicating about ideas and everything was one, our co-producer and of course my production partner, because the budget was a little bit tighter than the story allowed. So no, the story was bigger than the budget allowed. So what we had to do, or what I had to do, is cut scenes, re-edit them, rewrite them. So that was at first. Those were the guys like Jonas Dornbach and David Kajc and Louis Singer were the guys I had to talk to, because they said, hey, look, we cannot have 5 characters here in this scene. We can only have 3, and try to make it not a main character, because main characters are more expensive than blah. So you had to be pragmatic. And at the same time, do I really need this storyline? Do I really need this location? Can we move to another location? So that was the writing process for a while. And then once we had the directors attached, and the directors, to be honest, they came on board a little bit late in the process. Once we had attached, of course, the communication was very much between me and the directors. So it would not have been, to me at least, very fruitful to talk to my co-writers and about anything because for budget reasons, because sorry, but writers don't have too much of an idea mostly about budget, so it's kind of pointless. And also when you, I mean, it's no disrespect, but it's really you have to be pragmatic at some point. And the other point is that once we had the directors and once I could work with them also on the scripts, it was much more efficient again to talk to them to see, does that work and does that not work. So yeah, basically at some point I decided to be on my own as a writer and to just work with the producers and the directors and the head-offs.
So the budget was a co-author then of the... So.
It always is. I can't imagine otherwise.
Hi, thank you. And it's really different to watch it on a big screen than on my laptop.
Better or worse?
Better, like the music. It's more like catchy. My question regards to the cast, and you worked with well-known rappers. How was that, and what challenges were like maybe to overcome? Yeah.
How did you pay for all that music?
No, not too much. No, because the good thing is that we created much of the music ourselves or with the artists, so it was not much licensing money involved, but it's more like paying someone for the work and having all the rights. And this could only work with if people have the same kind of vision and. But your question regarding the cast. So what we did is that I love the idea that all the rappers there are from Frankfurt, or not all the rappers, obviously. For example, Khalifa, he's not from Frankfurt. He's even from Austria, which makes for a strange accent in this. But first of all, I wanted all the rappers to be played by rappers. So I did not want to have an actor playing a rapper. That was very clear to me. And then I tried to really focus on the Frankfurt rap scene. And so not only people, of course, born and raised in Frankfurt, but people who had this Frankfurt connection. And there's this, Aslax, so the guys around Haftbefehl, 385 Ideal is also in the vicinity, and Azad, of course. And what we did is that we did a casting. So it didn't matter to me and to neither of us how many followers do they have on Instagram or whatever. It was just about we had 2-3 days of just one contact, Sin, who's the manager and label boss of 385 Ideal and manager of all these guys, and he got us all rappers who were interested in taking a part in it and who were interested in trying to act, and everyone kind of had the same chance. And we gave them some scenes and looked who was fitting the bill, basically.
A real casting session.
We had just downright casting session. And there was one, for example, so all the rappers that were there, that and in a way, most of the rappers in Frankfurt were interested, and all of who were there, they were really excited about it. There was one guy who's who decided after casting, after we kind of liked him, and then he said, maybe I don't know about the role, and so maybe he imagined a bigger role or something. Because of course, when you say, "Hey, casting," everyone thinks he can be the new Al Pacino or whatever. And then once they figured out and knew that the roles were rather minor roles, then you could also, but it was good because you could also see who's serious about it and who's serious about even playing a small role, and who might be not. So
you did have rappers actually rapping and making the music. I mean, that was pretty amazing. How did the music come about? The original songs. Can you talk a little more about that? That's fascinating.
I mean.
It's good music, I have to say. I'm not a rap fan, but I thought this was really, really cool stuff up there.
to be honest, the Khalifa guy, I was, I loved that, or it was very important to me that he knows rap and that he has a history in rap, but his rapping style, back in Austria, I don't know, back in 2008 or something, was not something that I really liked. But I knew that he knows how to rap and he understands everything that comes with it. Mm-hmm. And so what we did is that instead of making him write his own songs, we asked Azi Memo, who's playing Aziz in the show. So he's a bit
stocky,
a bit bigger, maybe. So with a big beard, I don't know. One of the three guys, basically, and he wrote. So he ghost wrote basically all the Khalifa, all of Khalifa's songs, or all of Murat Hamustu's songs, basically. Which of course was for him also pretty tough, because there's this one, I don't know if for you have seen the whole season in episode 3 and 5, I guess. There's one song called Rose. It's about
Rose in Beton,
right? Mm-hmm. And it's this kind of a bit kitschy, a bit cheesy ghetto rap love song in a way, love ballad, right? Yeah. So the point is not that that all of the songs should be bangers, or it should be just great and powerful music, but it's that all the songs have a dramatic meaning, a dramatic role in a way to fulfill. So for Azi Memo, who does completely different music, and was kind of a challenge to go there and to, for example, write this Rose in Beton. Okay. He was constantly cracking up about this.
But you basically told him this is what we need. This is the general idea.
Right.
And he had to write the
right. But I was always in the studio while he was doing it, because I wanted to see that he's taking it seriously. Because it could have been that, hey, can you write it and send it to me back in 1 week? And man, I don't know. I was not really trusting that process in this regard, because it's this also. In the studio, he started to write something. Then I said, can you twist this and this line, because da-da-da. Then he started to rewrite and all that. And with other rappers, it was different. For example, with Zilan, she was the song. So the first rap songs of Zilan.
The character that we haven't seen yet. She's going to show up and she's going to work with Jin on a song.
Right. And she tries to rap in the beginning and is not very good at it. So the lyrics are from the actress. So I told her, come up with some shitty lyrics.
Oh, she wrote it herself.
Shitty, aggressive lyrics, and then we drove from Berlin to Frankfurt one day, and then she gave me her ideas, and then on the trip, basically we wrote all the other songs and had fun, doing all this like shitty aggressive rap in a way. But then we didn't go to Frankfurt. We did go to Cologne, where Basazian is based, so the producer, and he's the guy. He works basically only with Haftbefehl and with. Also Miss Platinum, who also has a role in Skylines. So Haftbefehl is, of course, like a genius. He's I don't know, cannot really describe it, but
he's the Khalifa of
basically. So Khalifa is like an amalgam of many rappers, but of course, then when we arrived in Cologne in the studio of Basazian, and she she recorded the shitty raps. She was blushing and instantly and just feeling so bad and so I don't know, talentless in a way. and she said, "Hey, can we do another lyrics?" And because
she was
this is so shitty, very much, because Basazian is then the guy who goes like, "All right," so it's like Jin in the show in a way. And but yeah, that was the point, of course, that she is a bad rapper, and she only discovers, together with Jin, her talent as a singer. So so it's interesting to. Sometimes we wanted to just just have hits like this, like the beat that Jin does in the first episode, and the raps on it, like when Azad raps on it. So the final song of that is to me it's a really good rap song, but sometimes you just want to, for the sake of the story, you want to create a shitty rap song or a kitschy rap song or a cheesy rap or it's different stuff.
So you're challenging the rappers to come up with bad stuff. That's a tough sell. Where's the mic? Can we pass it on? All right, there's a question up there.
So I'm kind of interested in character development. From the original thing, Snitch, which of the characters were the first to be reintegrated into Skylines? And then my second question is the character of Kadir or Khalifa, right? So he's like a blueprint out of different types of German rap characters, obviously. And then how much did his character development was influenced by the fact that the series is in Frankfurt?
So the characters like Jin obviously was from the beginning there, but in the beginning Jin was Persian, and Zara, was she Persian too? I don't know.
The policewoman.
The policewoman was already there from the beginning, and Khalifa was already there. But I think Adan, for example, he was not there in the
Khalifa's brother.
Yeah, right. But I'm not sure, to be honest. It was more about the connection. It was more like the story of, I don't know. You don't sound very German, but the
I saw the whole season already. I'm German.
Okay, but the story of Bushido and his connection to with organized crime. That was the initial idea, basically, to make a series out of that. So it was more about, of course, there was this Khalifa figure, and then someone from organized crime. And like a clan, basically, and but it was not his brother yet, I think. So the core was Jin, Khalifa, and Zara, which I think is still the core of the series.
So they're the core ensemble, basically dramaturgic.
Yeah, in a way.
Around them, and then the other characters were developed around their conflicts.
Right. So, for example, Momo was someone I created and developed as also as part of the Serial Eyes training, so to make Jin have a personal conflict with and also someone like Samir, the manager of Khalifa. He's also in some vague form. He was already there in the beginning, but there was no Lily, no sister, no father, for example. Those were all characters that came because of Frankfurt as a setting and because of the new theme. And your other question of Khalifa, yeah, like I said, he's very much. So I just thought of the big rappers from German hip hop, and those are like Bushido, Azad, Haftbefehl, Kollega also, but also someone the guy who did the label boss of Selfmade Records, Elvier. So it's like a mixture of just big figures in German rap, basically.
All right, we'll take one more question.
So it's more about the production and more about the pitches. You were talking about pitching it in front of Netflix, in front of ZDF. Is there a jury to take you, or how is it the process? Is there a date, or are you calling just Netflix? I don't think so. I don't know. How is it like?
I mean, the first was this, the first like stage for a pitch was really Serial Eyes and the final pitch of Serial Eyes, and of course there were and there are. I know that last time there were people from Netflix, but back then there was no one from Netflix. It was little less high profile, was a little less also broadcasters, more producers during the pitch. But
maybe just to explain, the final pitch is where all of our 12 participants will present their their projects in front of a room like this room full of producers and broadcasters.
Right. And of course I was lucky there that someone from ZDF, from broadcaster, who's really not the target audience, because Claudia Tronier is also not let's say not the youngest, but so I was really surprised that she liked the pitch, liked the story. And but to be honest, with your second part of the question, with Netflix, it was not like there was a public pitch or whatever. It was really like I got an email address from someone, from a producer who was friendly enough to give it to me. It was a producer from Bavaria, and so it just no one had not no one, but I certainly did not have any address or contact way of contacting someone from Netflix. But this guy had a contact and just gave it to me, and was very nice of him. And and then I just wrote him, and he was so the guy from Netflix, Brian Pearson back then, and he was also intrigued. And then it went from there. And of course, at some point you meet someone. But it was also not like in Serial Eyes. It's we had this like a mock pitching session, where there is the writer and the producer and the director, and you had to behave or act a certain way and blah. I did not experience it in that way. It was really more informal. So you just you sent them your pilot, you sent them your pitch paper, your concept. And if they're intrigued by it, they want to get to know you. So, and then they want to get to know you either by by phone or by via Skype, or through a personal meeting, obviously. But it kind of it's like an organic process.
All right. So I guess you guys all took notes. So this is how you make a show. Now go make your own shows, and then come back and tell us about it. I want to thank Dennis for great insights and a really fun conversation and making a really great show. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
I'd also like to thank Nicole Haufe, Marie Wilz, Vivian Kahn and Federica Lodo from DFFB for putting together this event. And I'd like to thank you for being such a great audience. We're going to serve some drinks outside, so don't go away. Maybe we can have Dennis for a few more minutes if anybody of you want to ask a question you were too shy to ask in general. So stick around. And thank you.
Thanks.
Schön, dass ihr in diese Folge reingehört habt, und ich hoffe auch, dass ihr Spaß hattet mit der Folge und auch einiges Informatives mit dabei war für euch. Ich fand es super interessant, einmal einen Blick in den Produktionsweg von Skylines zu werfen oder einfach mal zu schauen, wie eine Serie überhaupt bei Netflix ankommt und ja, welche Wege es da gibt. Alle Informationen zu dem Gast, dem Event oder der Folge findet ihr wie immer in den Shownotes oder auf der Website in dem Beitrag zu dieser Episode. In diesem Sinne wünsche ich euch noch viel Spaß, und wie immer könnt ihr den Podcast mit den Podcast-Apps, iTunes oder Spotify abonnieren, und wir freuen uns natürlich auch, wenn ihr uns folgt auf Instagram oder Facebook, weil ihr dann automatisch natürlich mitbekommt, wenn eine neue Folge online geht. Ich wünsche euch ansonsten wie immer einen schönen Tag, einen schönen Abend oder eine schöne Nacht, und wir hören uns bei der nächsten Folge. Ciao!